Namaskaya. Good evening. Welcome to the Buddha Dhamma TV. I am Karen Tan. Today we begin our program with a Buddhist song. It is Sangham Saranam Gacchami by Wayfarers.
No other refuge do I seek, and no other will there be. The Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha are my only refuge.
Please now join us for our upcoming insightful talk with the illustrious Dr. Bande Punaji as he delves into the timeless wisdom of the Eightfold Path. Bande insights are not only enlightening but also remarkably rational, requiring your outer focus to unravel the profound depths of his Dhamma discourse. Don't miss out as Dr. Bande Punaji sheds light on the supernormal Eightfold Way.
Today we are going to talk about how to become aware of these things and become enlightened. So I told you the way is what is called the normally called the Noble Eightfold Path, but I translate it as the supernormal Eightfold Way. Why I call it the supernormal Eightfold Way is because the aim is to bring the normal person to a supernormal level. Now in modern psychotherapy, what they try to do is to bring an abnormal person to a normal state. But what the Buddha has been trying to do is to bring a normal person to a supernormal state. And that supernormal state is really bringing the normal person. We must understand that the normal person, the normal human being, is also an animal. That means in what we call the mind, which is really not something separate from the body, what we call the mind is an activity of the body. And there are two main activities that we refer to as the mind. One activity the Buddha called chitta. Another activity is what is called mano. And this chitta is where we get all the emotions, desire for pleasures, hatred of pain, even the thought I am, feeling of selfishness, all that comes from the chitta. That is the animal part of the human being. All animals are self-centered, seeking pleasures and trying to avoid pain. All this is the chitta. What is called mano is the thinking part. The chitta cannot think. Chitta can only feel angry or feel frightened or feel desirous of things. The chitta is only feeling things, whereas the thinking is done by mano. So what the Buddha was trying to do was to get the human being to rise above the animal nature and to become fully human. And this is why the Buddha spoke of giving up three things: lobha, dosa and moha. Lobha is the desire for pleasures, dosa is the hatred of pain, and moha is the thought, I am the self. So this is what we are trying to achieve because that is the teaching of the Buddha. And the Buddha pointed out that there are 3 steps that we have to go through. The first step is what is called sila. When we recited the 5 precepts, that is sila. That is, we are not going to be carried away by our emotions. Even if we become angry, you don't act in the angry way. When you become frightened, you don't act in that frightened way. When you desire things, you don't act in that way. So this is the meaning of practicing the 5 precepts. So that is sila. Sila is our behavior. And the next step is learning to calm the mind. Because every emotion is a disturbance of the mind. So that disturbance has to be stopped and calm the mind. That is what is called samadhi. So we have to practice sila and then samadhi to calm the mind. And once we have calmed the mind, the next step is what is called panya or prajna is the Sanskrit form, panya is the Pali form. That means gaining insight into the realities of life. So it is only by gaining insight into the realities of life that this disturbance can be stopped. Now the problem is how? How are we able to do this? And that how is to practice the Eightfold Path. That means there are 8 steps on the path. The first step is what is called sammaditthi. Now here on this paper, I hope you have got this paper. Huh? From the bottom we go up. Huh? We don't start from the top to go down. Go from the bottom to the top. So the first is sammaditthi, which is the harmonious perspective. Now we use that word harmonious because in normal translations they use right view. We don't call it right view, we call it the harmonious perspective. We are not using the words right and wrong. Because samma, the word samma means harmony. Ditti is the perspective. Perspective means how we look at things. From what angle are we looking at things? We can look at things from different angles. So we are choosing a special angle and also bringing about harmony, because our normal way of looking at things is the wrong way of looking at things, because it is creating conflict. Because the normal chitta, which is the emotional part, is going against reality and creating a conflict. You see, reality is that everything in the world comes and goes. Everything comes into being and then it is destroyed. That is the nature of things in the world. Every person who is born ultimately grows old, falls sick and dies. That is the nature of things in the world. But our emotions don't like that. We don't want to grow old. We don't want to fall sick. We don't want to die. That means our emotions are in conflict with reality. This is the problem. So this is the problem, a conflict. And so this is a way of looking at the world which overcomes the conflict and creates harmony. That is why we call it the harmonious perspective. So we are trying to overcome the conflict. The harmonious perspective is really understanding the realities of life, anicca, dukkha and anatta. Anicca means that everything is dependent on conditions. And what is dependent on conditions is unstable. Just as a piece of ice depends on the temperature. You increase the temperature, the ice turns into water. So what is dependent on conditions is unstable. Anicca means the instability of things. And what is unstable is not as we want. And therefore, that is creating unhappiness. Dukkha means unhappiness, creating unhappiness. It is unpleasant. What is unstable is unpleasant. Dukkha. And if it is unpleasant, not behaving as we want, it is not under my power. If it is behaving in a different way, it is not under my power. Now this body begins to grow old, and that is not what I want. So it is not behaving as I want. If the body is not behaving as I want, it means it is not under my power. The body is not under my power. And if it is not under my power, it cannot be called my body. What I call mine is under my power. If it is not under my power, it is not mine. If the body is not mine, can the body be me? What is not mine cannot be me. But we normally think the body is myself. But the body cannot be myself if it is not mine and if it is not under my power. That is the meaning of anatta. Anatta means not mine. I call it the impersonality. It is impersonal. To say it is impersonal means it is not mine. So, everything is unstable, unpleasant, and impersonal. So this is the reality of life. And to understand the reality of life is very important. But it is the mano, the thinking part of our mind, that can understand reality. But the emotional part doesn't understand anything. It can only feel the desire or the hatred or the unhappiness, worries, fears. So this is why we have to gain control over our emotions and calm the mind. And that is to start practicing this supernormal eightfold way. So the first step is the harmonious perspective. So once we have done the harmonious perspective, the next step is harmonious orientation. Now, what is the meaning of orientation? You see, if you are driving a vehicle and you are going north, now you are going to turn south and go in the opposite direction. We call that taking a U-turn. So you have to take a U-turn. That is the harmonious orientation. Orientation is to start turning the opposite direction. So if you have been seeking pleasures, you have to stop seeking pleasure. If you have been hating things or hating people, you have to stop hating. If you have been harming or hurting or fighting, you have to stop all that. This orientation is to turn in the opposite direction. That is the harmonious orientation. Now, once you have turned in the right direction, that is a mental turn. you have turned. But turning alone is not enough. Then you'll have to press your accelerator so that it will start moving. Huh? So then that is, you start with the harmonious speech. You begin to speak in the right way. Then the harmonious action. You begin to act in the right way. Harmonious living. You have to start living in the right way. That's the harmonious lifestyle. So you speak in the right way, act in the right way, and live in the right way. So when you begin to do that, now you are going in the opposite direction. And because you have turned in the right direction, however much you press your accelerator, you will be going only in that direction. You won't be going in another direction. So that means, that is what is called entering the stream. It's called Sotapanna. Sotapanna means it's like a log that you throw into the river. If you throw a log into the river, it will gradually go and fall into the ocean, because the river gradually flows and goes to the ocean. In the same way, if you practice it in this way, you will gradually flow into nirvana. Nirvana is that ultimate state, free from all suffering, free from all unhappiness, free from all worries, anxieties, and disturbances. So the most important thing is turning in the right direction. So that is the first part of this. But once you have fallen into the stream in the right way, where it is true that you'll be gradually floating in the right direction, but still you have to start swimming. Not only just being there, lying down, you have to start swimming. And that is the harmonious exercise. The harmonious exercise where you begin to start swimming in that direction. Now this harmonious exercise has 4 parts to it. 4 parts. They are called Sangvara, Pahana, Bhavana and Anurakana. We are going from the bottom to the top. Sangvara means, you see, it's a very important thing we have to understand. Now, what we are trying to do is to stop the emotional reaction. We are emotionally reacting to what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we taste, what we touch. This is the problem. So we have to stop this. Now, how can we stop that? The first step is when we see something, don't keep looking at that thing and start thinking about it. If you see something beautiful, don't start thinking about how beautiful it is. If you see something ugly, don't keep on thinking how ugly that is. In the same way, when you hear something, you don't think about how pleasant what you hear is. When you hear something unpleasant, you don't think about how unpleasant it is. If you begin to think about it, you begin to react emotionally to it. That is called guarding the senses. You are guarding the senses, guarding the eye, guarding the ear, guarding the nose, guarding the tongue, and guarding the sense of touch, the body, feeling in the body. Not to be thinking about the pleasant and the unpleasant. That's the first step. Then the second step is, if any reaction occurs, that means if a desire or a hatred comes up, you have to throw it out immediately. That is the second step. First, you stop thinking about what you see, hear, smell. The second is, if any reaction occurs, you have to stop that. That's the second step. Then the third step is what is called cultivation. What is cultivation? That cultivation is to keep looking inside instead of outside. It is only when we look outside that we begin to focus on what we see or hear or smell or taste or touch. So instead of thinking of the outside, we begin to think about what is going on inside. What is happening to my body? Now, if we begin to react, the body begins to shake. And the second step is to become aware of how the body feels. Are you feeling comfortable or are you feeling uncomfortable? How the body feels. Then the next step is becoming aware of the emotion that has been aroused. If any emotion is aroused, you have to become aware of that. That is also going on inside, not outside. Become aware of the emotion. Then the fourth one is to become aware of the thought that came to the mind. If any thought came to the mind, we have to become aware of that. So constantly watching what is going on inside, what is happening to the body, how is the body feeling, comfortable or uncomfortable, what is the emotional state, is it a desire or anger or fear or worry or whatever is going on emotionally. And then the thoughts that arise in the mind. So to become aware of these four things, that is what is called satipatthana, usually translated as mindfulness. But I don't call it mindfulness. That is not mindfulness, that is what is called introspection. Looking within, looking at what is going on inside you. It's called introspection. So this practice of introspection is not only just 1 minute or 2 minutes or even 3 minutes or even 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. It has to be done 24 hours a day, all the time. Our mind should be kept inside, not outside. Now that is the real satipatthana, which is not mindfulness, that is mind emptiness. You are emptying the mind. And it is really introspection, looking within, not looking outside. Because if you begin to look outside, you will be reacting. Here we are trying to stop reacting emotionally. So we have to be looking inside all the time. And if you do that properly, the next step is samma vayama, harmonious exercise, turns into harmonious attention. The harmonious attention is the samma sati. Now, if we practice this samma sati in the proper way, what happens? If it is done in the proper way, samma sati becomes the first step in the 7 steps to awakening. You begin to go through the process called awakening. You are awakening from the dream of existence. You think you are existing. That is a dream. You are dreaming that you are existing. But really, you are not existing at all. You are only thinking you are existing. This is why the Buddha is a person who has awakened from the dream of existence. So it's very important to understand that what we spoke of last time was the Paticca Samuppada, which is an explanation of how your mind automatically creates the idea of existence. You are becoming aware of existing world outside and the existence of a self inside. You are thinking, I exist here in this world with so many people around. And then you begin to form relationships with all these people, and as a result, you begin to fight and quarrel and begin to experience all the problems of life through self-centered thinking. It is only by properly practicing this way that you are able to gain freedom from this suffering. Now it's very important to understand this properly. I think this explaining the 7 steps to awakening we can leave for the next time.
Get ready for our next inspiring segment featuring the illustrious Venerable Bande Rahula, who is currently in South America, wholeheartedly dedicated to spreading the noble teachings of the Buddha among the Dharma-loving Latino community. Join us as Venerable Rahula shares his insight on making Dharma alive, and this is the part 1.
I suppose maybe Sayadaw Tejaniya you know already, so I will share the screen right now and we will do an exploration on how we can bring all the teachings alive into our own experience and making them work for more closely. You will see. So I start sharing the screen. Thank you very much. Welcome everyone. So let's start. So now the teachers that were introduced. This is El Most Venerable Sayadaw Unandamala Bhiwansa, my preceptor, and with whom I've been studying the Abhidhamma, Dhamma, and Vinaya. And also it was mentioned, Sayadaw Tejaniya, which has made some retreats here in Malaysia and also here in SBS, that through him, it was the way that I came to know about SBS. And then I had the long time wanting to come. And finally, all the conditions came together. And now, under the guidance of Venerable Ariya Dhammika, having a very fruitful, I feel, stay mostly because we are little monks right now here, so we have plenty of time to discuss and explore and share. And also, as it was mentioned, in Mexico, out of circumstance, I arrived a few years ago, 5 years ago there. I came with the robes. And then some friends, a small group of friends, and my own mother asked, what did you learn in Asia? What is the Buddha's teaching? So I say, okay, we'll start sharing to them a little bit at home. And the home that I was staying, there was not yet the monastery. It's still under development. So I started a little bit, and then suddenly the friend said, "Oh, I think a friend would like this. He or she is having some issues with the mind. Maybe it's gonna be useful. Can I invite?" I say, "Okay," and then I say, "Okay, okay," and then it started growing. Finally, people started bringing the whole family. Sometimes we have the 3 generations there. So it started growing. This is the group that was mentioned, 6 years already, exploring the Dhamma, Abhidhamma, and people coming from all ages. Then some invitations start getting for going to hospitals, talking to doctors. You will see a little bit more. But the point that I'm doing is that the Dhamma, it's we must find a way, really something that I dedicate much of the time is to get the teachings and try to make them available at any moment, especially when talking to children, how to talk to them so they see the benefit, not just telling them what to do, but what is the reason behind, what is the meaningfulness and the usefulness of it. So today topic will be covering that attitude more than teachings. I suppose I have seen the good work that all the societies have been doing throughout the years. People is well informed. So today we will be focusing a little bit more on the attitude, onto how to approach the teachings and make them relevant in any situation of life. So this session is going to be full of tips. If you wish to have a note around so you can write them, and it's also being recorded. So in case you wish to just focus, it will be also available later on. So if everybody ready, let's put our spiritual safety belts, and we will have a journey inside and journey into the Dhamma. It's a wonderful day today that we can do that, all of us together. So when the Buddha speaks about the Dhamma, it generally is talking about the individual, because that's the aim of the Dhamma, as we know, is the attendance of the mind of all of us individuals, and how to recognize negative tendencies and how to use the energy that was being used on negativity, change it onto positive, what we know as right effort. So generally in all the teachings, the Buddha is talking about us. Only the deeper we start going, the beginning is very clear. Of course, we can see it also in the suttas. The Buddha was talking to the individual. But then when the individual knew a little bit more and was exploring deeper inside, then we start finding some other descriptions about ourselves. Sometimes we may find that the next step will be, yes, this is me, this is you, but we are actually a combination of materiality, matter, this body, and the mind, the consciousness that is going there. And then if we go further, this happens to all of us, as the more we study, then we start saying that actually these also have the mind itself have different parts. Then we arrive to the 5 aggregates of Panchakanda, and then we start seeing more definitions, a little bit more clear. Yes, our mind is working, it's related to the body. It is the puppeteer, and the puppet is the body. But inside the mind, there are a few more ingredients. We have the consciousness, we have the mental sensation or mental feeling, Vedana Kanda, or feeling aggregate. We also have the perception, the different kinds of perceptions that we have, each one based on each of the senses. And then we also have the Sankhara Kanda, or the mental formations aggregate. So the deeper we go, sometimes it has happened to me, and this is the point I'm trying to get. The deeper we go, at some time we start, why it has happened, I start losing myself. And then I start thinking on theory, and then later on it becomes just a thinking about the Dhamma instead of an applying the Dhamma. especially when we go to deeper and more detailed descriptions about ourselves, when we speak about the 12 bases, all the senses and their objects, the 18 elements, Paticca Samuppada, then it becomes, sometimes I have felt it personally, that it goes quite far, and then I really ask, where am I on this? So this next tip, the first tip that we will explore in order not to get lost into the theory or just having the Dhamma outside what the teachers and the monks says, I want to share this treasure that has been for me, a very simple question that I have kept through the years, and regardless how deep the Dhamma that I'm exploring, it could be the Abhidhamma, the mental ingredients, or the materiality of the matter in the body or outside, etc., etc. This question has proven to be golden. So it's the first tip, how to make the Dhamma alive, and keeping this question often in our minds, especially when exploring the Dhamma. What does this Dhamma, just taking as an example, the 5 aggregates, means here? Where can I see myself there? Where am I there? And then after we have this mental frame, then we can start going with a very different. So I will ask you to do it together. We are practicing. This is a session of Dhamma. Dhamma is practice and theory. So we just go to one, consciousness. Do I have consciousness? What does having consciousness means? Do I have? Can I know things? If consciousness is what knows, can I know? Yeah, I know some things. Now, there are different kinds of consciousness, isn't it? 6 kinds of consciousness. Visual consciousness. Is seeing happening right now? Can I see? Yes, I can see. Can I hear? What does it mean? What is the teaching inspiring me or inviting me to contemplate? Because later on, we'll have all these elements applied onto our practice and starting to see, for example, with consciousness, how the impermanence of it, is it changing? What I see changes? Yes. If I close the eyes, suddenly everything becomes black. Then I open, yes, it is changing. There are still more. These are just the building blocks. So if from the beginning, as it has happened to me in the past, the Dhamma is a theory or a concept out there, I cannot bring it in, the practice cannot really happen. We see Vedana, feeling. Do I feel pleasurable and pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? Yes. Something is there. When I see a friend, immediately pleasure arises. An old friend that I see. Then when something or some pain, some discomfort, then perception, etc., etc. Whatever Dhamma we have, the first thing that can bring it alive is constantly having. What does that Dhamma, for deep that it is, Paticca Samuppada, all this arising and passing away, means here. Here in the body, can I see something? Here in the mind, can I see something? So we must know where it comes from, know the reference, which book it is. So if we wish to follow, we can go, but just the eye, keeping an eye, not to get lost only into the theory. Both wings of the bird must be strong. The theory and the applying of it, and they must grow together. Often we learn something and then we just need to sometimes press the pause button. The Dhamma is very deep, and then go and apply. Then the application of it will require, I'm thirsty a little bit for more knowledge. What else is there? Then we explore, and then we pause a little bit, and then we bring it to the practice. So what we want to do is make the Dhamma ours. Bring the Dhamma here, make it personal until it becomes our own nature. Good news, all the Dhamma, as we have seen, is designed to bring the most beautiful aspects of our mind, the most noble activity. It's a foster, it's recognized and fostered. So we are in good hands. So the Dhamma, as we know, it's us. The Dhamma is me. The Dhamma is you. The Buddha never taught something, as we know, only for philosophical entertainment or just for intellectual entertainment. Even the deepest of the deepest will have something to do here. So with this, we have the first tip. I will be making a list, so later on we can have a snapshot of all the things that we will explore. The first tip for keeping the Dhamma fresh is keeping this, more than the question, this mental frame. What does this Dhamma, and you can apply it right now, means here on this body and this mind? Good. Everybody okay? Everybody okay? If you can, the people who is in Zoom can, if you can turn on the camera, it's helpful to have a little closer contact. Okay, we take a breath. What does this Dhamma means here? And let's continue exploring. Now, second tip, we will speak about balance. One thing is content, and very often in the Buddha's teaching, we see that things, we develop one thing, but it can come to this side, we start falling on this side, and then we need to develop the other one. Not to come to the middle way, if there is a middle, we must avoid the extremes, stay into the middle, but we also need to explore them. So we will speak about balance. And I will take another very accessible teaching about the Dhamma, which are the 5 spiritual faculties. So as we know, our powers also are the same, Bala and the spiritual faculties, Indriyas. So we know that they must be balanced in themselves. I chose this one because it very clearly gives this point that I want to go to. So we know, sorry, I will click again, that there are 4 horses and one chariot here on these faculties or powers. So on the one hand, we have confidence, saddha, and panya, wisdom. Both of them must be very well balanced, because if we have a lot of saddha and no reasoning, no understanding, wow, big difficulties can arise from that kind of attitude. We can become very credulous, and then believing whatever we are told immediately without considering, and then we can become even easily manipulated. So that happens even in whole cultures. Now, on the other hand, if we don't trust or have confidence, we just only reason and think about, we can become quite cold or even hard. So then we don't allow for other things that might not be immediately seen. So we must balance these 2 horses, as we know. Then on the other hand, we have the other 2 horses, which is samadhi, concentration, and viriya, effort. If they are not balanced, we can either get agitated. If we put a lot of effort and get agitated, and we put a lot of samadhi, concentration, the man can become dull and fall into energy. So both of these horses must be balanced. And there is the charioteer that will be awareness, mindfulness. Sati will be in charge of knowing, okay, how much saddha do I have? How much panya there is? Are they balanced? Samadhi is okay. Viriya is okay. So sati is the key at the beginning. At the beginning, that will be what will be balancing the faculties. But what we want to do later on, and this is the point, I'm getting closer and closer to the next tip. Eventually, we want wisdom to take the reins, the control of the horses, and then the confidence, mindfulness, concentration, effort, and wisdom itself is guided because of the understanding that what we are doing is good. I come to this point because I have failed in the past many times, and something that has happened, because in the teaching, effort, as we have seen, very often is stress. Oh, we must put effort. We should sleep a little bit less, and effort. Very often, my dear family, Dhamma family, I have gotten lost just applying effort, forgetting about sometimes even of the other horses. It seems apparently sometimes it's only just effort, put effort onto the precepts, and it becomes the attitude changes. And eventually I've seen myself that instead of having 4 horses and 1 rider, I have all of the horses are effort, and the rider is also effort. And then without guidance, it's like a boat, sailboat with a lot of wind and no how you say, steering wheel. So eventually I can go and directly crash into the rocks. I have seen also in some friends that we can burn out because effort, and also this is reinforced by our way of living, often society. Oh, you must strive, you must do. But then very important things we're keeping out. Confidence in ourselves. Understanding why are we doing this and why is it good for us? Concentration, mental stability, and awareness. So this thing is something that we must be very, very careful. I learned this long time ago, and if you allow me, I will share a personal story. Everybody ready for a personal story? Everybody okay? Good. Okay, so I will share. As I was growing up, the first encounter I recall and have stayed with me, the understanding of the difference of the different efforts. So as I was growing up, with being with my parents, these are my three sisters. There are two older than me, and then I come, and then there is one sister younger. So when we were small, economy was okay, but not so good. So both of my parents needed to work. So my mother would work my father would work the whole day. He would go to the factory. He's an engineer. And my mother will work in the hospital and will stay half day. So it was, for us, the kids, a little bit bigger than this photo. This is a niche, how it changes. We were bigger than this. We might be 10, 12 years old. So it was duty I learned from when I was small. I needed to, of course, make up my bed and the room, make it tidy. And then also we needed to work on the chores of the house. So we were 4 kids. We will divide the chores into 4. After the lunch, one of us will wash the dishes. Another one will undust the furniture. Another one will sweep, and another one will mop. And since we are 4, we would just rotate one day one day other. But I have to confess something. I really didn't like to mop. It was something that I didn't really like. Somehow the needing to take the water out of the mop, I didn't like it. And I was all the time, when it was my time to mop, there was a problem. Duka. I didn't know back then about any tool, how to do. So what would it be? It was my time to mop. I don't like it. I was waiting, suffering. My mother would arrive, and then she will see me there suffering or upset. And what happened? I don't like this mopping. I don't like this mopping. And then my mother, at some of the times, like you may know, she was busy. She was tired. Well, you do. Why? I will say, because it's the responsibility of the whole house. And eventually she might even reach to the point, because I am your mother. I less like it. So I was dosa, mopping. But something happened one day. And imagine how meaningful it was that decades ago, I still remember, and even people from other side of the world is now knowing about it. That day was special. My mother arrived, and before it was just out of, you should put the effort because we are a clan and we need to do together, and because I am your mom. But then that day, I am again with the dosa and don't like to mop. And then she come and contemplated for a little while. And then she told me, stop. Wait. She said, why? And she asked me, why do you think we mop? I was expecting that she was going to tell me, just do it. And then I was upset. I said, I don't know, just to wet the floor. And then she looked surprised, and then she said, no. We don't mop to wet the floor. And then she said, pass me the mop. And then she pointed at me, do you see this stain on the floor? And I said, of course I see it. Sorry. And then she said, look, we mop to take the stains away of the floor. And then she showed there was the sun coming through the door. And then she, do you look like this? Do you see that dust? And then she went and now you look again. You see we're taking, the whole thing changed. The whole world changed at that moment. But now when I reflect, it was not really the mopping or the importance of the mopping, but the fact that she stopped, she saw me and went beyond to the understanding of the why we are doing that. Why is it necessary to be putting effort? So until now, my dear family, the best gift that she gave me, I really appreciate that attitude. She came, saw me, and explained me the why. Believe me, after that, the whole experience of the mopping really changed. I was mopping, I was understanding why I was doing, because really, I was thinking in this way. What is the use of wetting the floor if it is going to get dry again? This activity is meaningless. I wet it and it gets dry minutes ago. That was my understanding. She came and changed it. So the point I want to make here, my dear family, our minds continue working in similar ways. As long as we don't go and make an inventory of what am I doing? How am I approaching? This can also happen with the Dhamma. So very often when only effort is guiding and we are just following because of authority, because of we saw it in the scriptures, which is great to be there, but only because of that, or because the monk told us, or often we might do the same to our own kids when we want to inspire them, but we only share the effort and you practice morality because you must. And if we are not skillful in explaining the other one, in knowing why, wow, we can very easily get into that. So between the mental faculties, we must be doing movements. Sometimes, yes, Panya will lead, but sometimes faith will lead. Sometimes, yes, effort will lead, but all of them must be balanced. So the second tip that we will take for today, it is always try to keep present the why of the practice, the why of the teaching, trying to understand the mind of the Buddha behind the deepest, it will be very deep, but why am I doing this? Why is it good to practice morality? And imagine the tools that we will have when we want to inspire our own children. So we must know and be able to explain the reasons and the benefit beyond. And then effort, we don't need to be asking. Later, after that, my mother didn't need to push me to mop. So it went very well. Fortunately, there are also some teachings that we will go very quickly. If you wish to take a screenshot, you can have. There are the 10 anusatis or recollections, but we will just focus on a few of them, a few that I have seen in the past that are very useful for making either sada or wisdom, the confidence in myself, or the wisdom that we possess to guide the practice, to guide the effort. So one of these contemplations is when we contemplate in our own morality practice, in our own sila. Confidence grow, we know we haven't done nothing wrong to nobody. I am okay, I've done nothing wrong. And then when we contemplate on our generosity acts, it makes us feel beautiful, wholesome, worthy, and we see the benefit in ourselves. We see the benefit on the people that we are helping, and the non-harming also. So that makes guide the practice. Another contemplation that is also very helpful for me has been remembering that one day I will die. So then I start recognizing, wow, all the conditions are present. All the conditions are good. We have food, home, teachers teaching. It is very precious. So that kind of understanding, instead of making a dark attitude, it brings and makes shine the usefulness and preciousness of this opportunity, just as some tips. Now, let's go to another part that also it's important to keep in mind. Very often, our culture will influence our attitude in our way of thinking, and hence our way of living, hence our way of practicing the Dhamma. So you may see this image and you may say, what is this image? It looks a little bit strange, isn't it? Like a Chinese temple with some umbrellas over there. Well, I have to tell you that I feel very familiar in Malaysia, because I also have a Chinese family. On a personal note, I was married with a Chinese family for 20 years, my ex-wife, now my dear Kalyanamita, you can see her here. We share a life together, and now we practice. I am a monk, and then she continued practicing and sharing the Dhamma as well. So I also have a Chinese family, and there is a tendency that I have experienced in direct hand. There is the kind of hierarchy in the Chinese culture that often it becomes an obstacle in the practice. And I will say, well, at first I show you this picture. Here is Ye, and then Taiguma, Yikuma, Sok Sok, and Mama. We were in a trip. I didn't. That's the only photo I found. So one of the things, having this hierarchy, for example, the Talga and the big brother, very often you see that whatever the big brother says, that's what the big brother said, and there is no word after. That I have seen being close to the Chinese culture, and this is why I'm talking. I know many of you might have descended from China, and it is very important also to pay attention that often this rigidity can develop. And if we are not careful, this effort, you should do just because I told you, because of the ladder, also is also an obstacle that can get on the way of our inner development. So this is something just to keep around. And on a personal note, may all of them be well. Yeye just passed away a few weeks ago, unfortunately, but all the family is fine. So next tip to write down and to keep present, something has been very useful. Let wisdom and faith guide the effort, mostly wisdom. The why are we doing this? So in order to increase wisdom, one of the elements that I have seen very, very beneficial is curiosity, wanting to know. So until here, everybody okay? Everybody okay? Let's, I stop sharing the screen. Let me see, everybody okay? Going good? We continue a little bit more? Yes, okay, we are good on time. We are good on time. So we take a little breath. We are practicing, seeing some stories, contemplating a little elements of the Dhamma. Let's try to keep 50% of our attention in the body, 50% attention in the content that we are listening or seeing. So I come back to sharing the screen here, sorry. So I was talking about curiosity, isn't it? So in order to keep curiosity up, something that has been very beneficial, and I need to remind myself often, and let's feel it right now. Let's just contemplate that all of this library, the house we are in, the building we are in, the streets and the cars, the mountains, the whole earth at this very moment, as it has always been, is floating in the cosmos. We born floating, and we will pass away floating. This planet at the same time is turning around a big star, a big ball of fire. And this big ball of fire is also turning into a huge galaxy, one of millions of them. So when we open the perspective and understand what is happening here, biological beings exist, you and me, consciousness exists and is malleable. I am doing something for it. Whatever I think, either good or bad, that is what it becomes. I am an actor of whatever is happening, and it's something immense happening, like a miraculous. For it to be human beings, for there to be a sun, and then look up into the night and see the moon hanging just there with no strings, the earth at the same time. So my dear family, something that has been very helpful for me, it's wondering about the universe, astronomy, science. So something, if you wish to inspire young people, children, adolescents, something very good to arrive to wisdom. Science is also in one way trying to find answers to reality. We can use the tools that are available, proven facts, and then couple them, put them together with the understanding of the Buddha and the Dhamma, which very often are not far, are actually very, very close. Something I want to leave very clear is not that I have no intention of explaining the Buddha's teaching all through science or vice versa, explaining science through the Buddha's teaching. But there are many, many unbelievable points where they meet and we can use for our own understanding and get more detail and promote with our family. And it's easily seen, it's easily understand through using both of them. So on that line, both of these knowledge or wisdom finding, understanding finding activities, the Dhamma and science, very often, not to say the Dhamma definitely is totally focused on the liberation from suffering, hence happiness or well-being, and also science have done a lot. So here's the point what I'm making. The next tip I wish to point out will be keeping this inspiration founded with the knowledge of science. So as far as the understanding of happiness, the Buddha has explained, and you will see how many parallels are there, unbelievable. Even through the years, my respect to the Buddha has grown much more to see, to think how he found out all this without having all these machines and means for measuring, how he found out that how the mind works, unbelievable, his wisdom and understanding. So science, through measuring our blood and physiological activity, has understand that whenever we are happy, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins, the happiness chemicals arise. So now look at this. This is very, very interesting. Something to bring the Dhamma alive. This helps me a lot to keep reminding. Whatever I'm sure, the next activities are what science said. It is good to make these chemicals arise. They had the chemistry of happiness arrive. Hence, feel happiness, feel joy inside. You see the parallels is amazing. The first thing that is mentioned is contentment, gratitude. Science is backing it up. Whenever somebody feels gratitude, boom, dopamine arises, well-being, because we are seeing what we have. Contentment is that. So this is, I think, very useful and also very useful to share with our youth, with our family members, because I think we have a big lack. We are taking things for granted. Maybe in our generation, when we were a child, things were a little bit more difficult. I suppose many of you will, more difficult than they are now. Maybe many of you will agree on it. But now I have seen, teaching also children of many ages, one of the biggest obstacles to be able to contact and explore together is mana, or the how you say, pride that there is there. And very often it is based on this sense of taking things for granted. Of course, my parents it should be as it is, and we have everything. We take all things like if it is, it should be there, and if it is normal. But no, without understanding, without looking that some people lacks many of the things we do have, we cannot develop compassion. We cannot develop humbleness, and whatever we do have becomes invisible, and problem after problem. More craving, more attachment, more conceit. And as the teacher said, conceit and anger are the two things, the two mental ingredients that really dry our mind. A mind that is conceited cannot grow things inside. The soil is hard. A mind that is angry cannot grow. So this is backed up by science. It seems like I was speaking about the Dhamma, isn't it? Like it is. It's a reality. Another thing that science says that it is very good for developing this chemistry inside, it is the sense of harmony in community, also found deeply in many, many teachings of the Buddha. Another thing is altruism and service, generosity in time, generosity in energy. We also find it. Something that we might not find in the Dhamma so much, but it is making exercise daily. We also secrete these endorphins and good chemicals that makes us feel happy, laughing, etc., etc. And one more that is really looks like books from the suttas, but this is scientific finding. Benevolence, that metta and generosity makes us happy. Yes, when we are being generous or sending blessings, may you be well, happy, peaceful, all these pleasant physical sensations and mental states arise naturally in the mind. So manasa and sukha in the body. So this is what science says. This is what the Dhamma also said. But here comes the point that I want to arrive with. The next tip is coming. We know that happiness, when we are happy, because of the presence of these chemicals and the somanasa states, the beautiful mental states that develop from it, happiness is very pleasurable. But here comes the human mind. We are so clever. We say, okay, wait. So there is pleasure and there is happiness. But you know, this business of happiness is a little bit troublesome. I need to be generous. I need to help somebody else. I need to give something away. I need to go and make exercise, etc., etc. We are so clever as a species that at some point we said, why don't we take this happiness thing away? And we just go directly to the pleasure. Anyway, this is what we feel directly, isn't it? And here comes the problem. Pleasure, we start only trying to find pleasure, and just make an experiment. Go to Google go to Google Images and just type happiness to see. I made it just to make an experiment. So I put happiness, tung, 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 and I got a screen like this. And after screens and screens and screens and screens and screens of images, everything boiled down to the next thing. It was, what makes people happy? It seems like for a way in the internet, the collective consciousness, if you wish to call it like that, agrees that happiness is either vacation, food, romance, or entertainment. That was it, really, after pages and pages. And then you come and ask, but where is contentment? Where is gratitude, generosity, altruism, loving kindness, compassion? None can be found. And then here comes the problem, something that we must keep ourselves present. As our teacher says, there is happiness so cheap, so cheap, so cheap that we can buy it in the shop in the corner. And yes, it is true. We can go just pay a little bit of money and then you get happiness. But what kind of happiness? For how long? And very importantly, what are we getting? Are we getting pleasure or happiness? And because this happiness or pleasure is very feeble, we must repeat it over and again because it finishes very quickly, and then again and again and again. And before we know it, we become just slave. We might have become already addict to many of the things. The mind can crave whatever it can touch. My dear family, this is something very, very important to share with our kids. Very, very important to share as soon as possible with our youth, understanding that this can be very easily mixed because happiness is pleasurable, but not the other way. And I will give now some statistics, which are a little bit hard to swallow, but anyway, we have the spiritual safety belt. There will be some spiritual turbulence, and not so much, but it's necessary to know. And it is the fact that the suicide rate in the world, unfortunately, it's increasing. And it's increasing. And what is most shocking, something that whenever possible, when our kids are on age, it's going to be good to explore it. And I do with the students. It's important and they can take it. When we look at the statistics, most of the people that is suiciding is people who is middle income and high income, middle social status, economic status, and high status. It is not happening so much in lower income or economy spheres. And when we look at statistics, last time I checked, when making these images, the countries that were having the most suicide per year was South Korea, United States, and Japan. And as we know, these countries, because of the economy they possess, they are not countries that lack access to pleasure, isn't it? So what is happening here? Something very, very important that is costing really not just mental health, but physical harm. A full life can become turned off because of misunderstanding and mixing of these things. So the next point that is going to be very useful for our lives, for our families, and for our Dhamma practice is keep always present that pleasure is not synonym of happiness. It can come on one side, happiness is pleasurable, but pleasure not. Really, really important. I have seen when sharing the Dhamma with young people, it is essential to arrive as soon as possible to this point. So everybody okay? Until here, how are we going? Everybody fine? We are good in time. We take a little breath. We know we are here. We are listening, exploring, seeing some ideas. And for the next and last part, we are good on time. I will go through some quick tips. I knew the time will be passing, so we will just see some of the tips that might be useful for keeping the Dhamma alive. And at the end, we'll have a full list of what we have seen. Very often, our mind forgets about the practice, and the Buddha knew it very well. That's why he recommended so many contemplations. The Satipatthana Sutta, it all refers to remembering. Sati means remembering again, contemplating all the anusatis. Anu means, as you know, repeatedly, anusati, having awareness of something continuously, or Anupassana, also seeing continuously. So let's look at some of the teaching of the Buddha and how we can apply it in a quick tip in our daily life. So the bhikkhu, the Buddha in the Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta number 19 said, bhikkhus, whatever a bhikkhu frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of his mind. So if the Buddha, and we know how nature works, what we can do cleverly do is use the form of nature, use it to our advantage. So wherever I turn my mind to, the mind will become for good or for bad. This is ethically variable. If I often do bad, it will go to bad. If I often ponder on good, it will go to good. So one very practical thing that I have seen that is very easily to apply in our daily life, it's our phone. This is an object that we have constantly. We are looking at it. Anupasa. Phone anupasa. How to anupasana, how we can put it. Phonupasana. So in average, just in average, and I'm being very, very mild on it, apparently we are looking at our phone from 30 to 90 times, but there were much more. There is even in some of the phones a counter how many times we turn it on. So if this is something that we are gonna be with, why don't we make our phone our best and closest? Well, not our best, but our closest kalyanamitta. So if I'm gonna be looking at the phone so many times, we can hack the mind and help for the spiritual practice. And one thing that I have found, for example, this background, I use it often. And then what do I put? I put the teachers, I put my family, and people that just by thinking of them, even if I have not learned from them, inspire me some good quality, either wisdom, compassion, love, understanding, reminds me of the practices. So on top, for example, when I went to India, Kusinara, the place where the Buddha passed away, was a very meaningful, very touchy. It's one of the reasons why I'm a monk right now. And then seeing the teachers there closely. And then on the bottom, if I also want to contemplate and grow wholesome qualities, I have my mother, my father, I show you my sisters, dear Kalyanamitas, and just teachers or people from any kind of religion, as you can see, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, but people just by looking at them, if I'm gonna see the phone, sometimes I may see somebody, and this is reminding me, the phone is helping me to do, seeing my father and mother, very easy to develop metta immediately. So if I'm gonna be looking, another tip to do is check what backgrounds are we having, and also for other qualities. If in the right thought, the Buddha said that there are 3 characteristics that we must be alive in order to have right thought, it will be the sense of detachment, compassion, and loving kindness. I made this image, and I will tell you what it means. When I put it on the phone, immediately kicks me onto a wholesome mental state. So this image is based on a fact. Unfortunately, in the world, every day, 350 children, talking about the phone, 350 children are dying because of lack of food. Today, unfortunately, 350 mothers and fathers will be mourning or crying for their kids, not because of a disaster, not because of an accident, just because they were unable to give them food. So very often when I put this image in the phone, just when I open it, immediately the mind very clear, very fast make the connection, and then immediately compassion arises. For all the parents that might be there, or the kids that might die today because of weakness, may they be well, may they be safe. And another thing also, another benefit I find, internal benefit, although the news are bad, that helps me a lot, it is the perspective. Sometimes I feel, if you see in the center of the image, I have some mothers, I just found the images, put them together and keep it there. If you wish to take a snapshot or screenshot, you can put it on the phone, I recommend. Often I feel, well, if I find myself suffering because something happened, somebody didn't talk to me in a nice way, something that I wish didn't happen, then for some reason I open the phone and see this, and then I ask myself, imagine if I were beside one of these 350 mothers of today, because tomorrow is going to be 700, and after tomorrow 1050 moms on fathers suffering. If that mom will ask me, do you suffer? And I will say, yes, I'm suffering this moment or something like this. And then if she asked me, why do you suffer for? My dear family, what could I say? Why? Because I have no Wi-Fi? Because the phone broke? Or because that person didn't spoke how I like or saw me as I like? Wow, very, very, I find very useful ways to hack our blind habits, and with something that we are looking constantly, use it as our Kalyanamitta. So that's another practical tip. I'm sure you must be doing something about it. And as you know, there are apps already about mindfulness that you put how many bells a day or just the normal alarm of the phone. So something I do is in moments that I know it is not going to be disturbing, like in the school or in the work or something, at lunchtime, put an alarm and you can put something and then stay for a minute. And just a minute makes a big difference. Coming back to the body, we know how to contemplate the body sensations, the breath. Just take a moment, accept, release, and move on. We continue with our work. So that's another way to make our best, closest Kalyanamitta.
Welcome to Buddha Dharma TV, where we unveil the splendor of ancient and modern Buddhist sites from around the globe. Join us as we explore monasteries, delve into the lives of remarkable monks and nuns, and celebrate the contribution of lay activists, all aimed at enriching the knowledge of peace-loving individuals worldwide. Kickstarting our series is the majestic Chua Po Hoi Monastery, built in 1936 in Dong Province in Vietnam, with devotion by Venerable Thrit Thai Thon. Our gratitude extends to Venerable Thrit Goy Men, who captured the essence of this century and shared it with us. Please embrace the beauty of this scarce space by watching our feature on this enchanting monastery.
Những ngôi chùa trên mảnh đất bờ lao. Chùa Phước Huệ, Bảo Lộc. Tọa lạc ngay trung tâm thành phố Bảo Lộc, chùa Phước Huệ là ngôi chùa đầu tiên của xứ sở bờ lao này. Trước mặt có hồ Đồng Nai Thượng, sau lưng dựa núi Đại Bình vững chãi. Với lịch sử hình thành gần 100 năm, có thể xếp vào hàng danh lam cổ tự. Từ đường 20 nhìn vào, cổng tam quan tuyệt đẹp, ôm trọn ngôi chùa và bảo tháp cao 36 mét. Bảng hiệu với nền màu nâu nổi bật tên chùa Phước Huệ không thể lầm lẫn với bất kỳ ngôi chùa nào khác. Vườn tượng 18 vị A-la-hán bằng đá trắng, cùng Đức Bồ Tát Quán Thế Âm Lộ Thiên Hiền Từ. Ngài Di Lặc với nụ cười hoan hỷ
khiến bao phiền muộn của khách trần rơi rụng, tâm hồn thảnh thơi nhẹ nhàng. Với lối kiến trúc hiện đại, gọn gàng, giản đơn, nhưng vẫn không giấu nổi nét khỏe khoắn, vững chãi, hài hòa của ngôi Gian Lam này. Toàn bộ cấu trúc được xây dựng theo trục dọc với từng phân khu chức năng riêng biệt. Giảng đường thiện giải là nơi tôn vinh những cống hiến của Hòa Thượng trụ trì đời trước. Đó là Hòa Thượng Thích Thiện Giải. Nơi đây vừa là nơi diễn ra hội họp của chư Tăng mỗi kỳ trưởng tịnh Bố Tát, vừa là nơi tổ chức những khóa tu bát quan trai giới cho hàng Phật tử, đồng thời là nơi diễn ra những sự kiện quan trọng của Ban trị sự Phật giáo thành phố Bảo Lộc. Chính giữa là Đại Hùng Bảo Điện, tôn trí Đức Phật Thích Ca Mâu Ni. Xung quanh là những phù điêu mô tả chư thiên, Càn Thác Bà, Khẩn Na La, La Hầu La Già, tấu nhạc trời, ca vũ, sướng tụng, tung hoa cúng dường Đức Phật thành đạo. Phía trước chùa là vườn tượng A La Hán. Sau lưng chùa chính là vườn thiền phong cách tối giản. Nổi bật tôn tượng Bồ Tát Như Ý Bảo Luân Vương làm điểm nhấn cho toàn bộ tiểu cảnh. Khách trần lắng động tâm tư, vừa chiêm ngưỡng tôn nhan Ngài, vừa thả lòng mình trong khung cảnh tịch lặng, tìm về chốn chân tâm của chính mình. Chùa Phước Huệ xứng danh chốn tâm linh cho mỗi hành giả tìm về, đồng thời là nơi dừng nghỉ cho khách trần những lúc mệt mỏi.
other refuge do I seek, and no other will there be. The Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha are my only refuge.
That brings us to the end of today's program. If you have any concerns or questions, don't please hesitate to reach out to us at info@buddhathamatv.com. Thank you for watching, and I'm sure that our programs on Buddha Dhamma TV will be a source of insight and inspiration for many. Good night. Namo Buddhaya.